What's up, everybody? My name is KSaun, and welcome back to another War of the Visions Final Fantasy Brave Exvius video. Today is going to be week 1 of our War of the Visions Draft League, the first ever draft league in WoTV. And if you guys don't know what the heck a draft league is, it's essentially a league that I put together with me and 9 other people. And each one of us is a coach or a player for a team. There is 9 weeks in the season, so it's a full season. It's not just a tournament, it's like a full league. And every single week, we are going to play against another person in the league. Now, we did a full draft, a 9-round snake draft, basically drafting units onto our team to basically decide which units we can use throughout the league. And if somebody drafts a unit, nobody else can use that unit. So it's going to be very, very cool to see all the different teams. They're going to vary from team to team. No team is going to have any of the same units as someone else. So that's very, very cool concept. The biggest thing here, too, is the cost of your team has to be 225 or less. So there's going to be a lot of units, MR or below, that are used within this league. So you're not just going to see all those super OP 100 costers all the time. You might see some 100 cost units, but they're not going to be super extremely prevalent. So should allow plenty of time for some of those lower tier units to shine. Let's get into this week 1 matchup. So we've got the Wondrous Shoopufs here, coached by MaechenX, versus the Sheerans, coached up by SurfTaco. And just to take a quick look to see what units they have on their team, what units or what teams they could come up with here. Wondrous Shoopufs has a couple of really good ice teams that he could make. He can run Eliza, Fryevia, Curry, or he could run Sweetheart, Salir, Fryevia, Curry. I very much expected him to run one of these teams, at least in round 1 of this match. And Sheerans, it was kind of a little harder to predict in terms of what he could run, because he could run something like Jaden, Warrior of Light, Phoebe, as like a full light comp. He could run Astrius, Glaciella, Phoebe, or he could run full ice with Aranea, Victoria, and Shell. So ultimately, looking at this, I think it's very likely that Wondrous Shoopufs run ice. Sheerans could also run ice or light here. So I'm curious to see what happened in this match, and let's get into it. All right, guys, so match 1 here, we've got MaechenX versus SurfTaco. I think it's very, very likely that MaechenX runs Fryevia, Sweetheart, Salir, and Curry here. Just based off the attack and magic stats, I think we're likely to see Sweetheart, Salir. So that's that ice comp, one of the 2 ice comps I talked about. SurfTaco, on the other hand, might also be running his own mono ice comp. Has RNA showing very high attack stat, which means Victoria could be in the back along with Shell or Phoebe to pump them up. So very, very excited to see who wins this ice versus ice matchup. So loading into the game here. And yeah, it's pretty much exactly what we expected. So the ice versus ice round. Let's see who gets the better of this. So looking at the positioning here, Shell is sitting right next to Aranea, so very likely going to haste or quicken her. Sweetheart Salir gets the barrier online, so that's a smart move. And Victoria running Dragon's Pride. So this is one of my favorite TMRs. It is Kane's TMR, gets that +1 movement, gets haste on the unit. Very, very powerful, especially if you're kind of going on your own on the side of the map on a little solo mission. I really, really like that TMR. And from SurfTaco, basically going double haste here, because you're going to haste Aranea and then Victoria hastes herself. So that's a very smart move. Basically, your 2 powerhouses are now very, very speedy. On the other side from MaechenX here, I do like the Curry bring. Unfortunately, doesn't land the Frostbite onto Aranea. I'm not sure how much it would have mattered anyway, because she did pop bells. But that is a very, very useful skill, and had it hit somebody like Victoria instead of Aranea and procced Frostbite, this fight could be really interesting because, you know, essentially Victoria would have no AP. Fryevia gets absolutely nuked by Victoria and Aranea, so it's now a 3v2. Curry walks up and Shadowbind Shell. I'm very curious if... No, I don't think Shell would have been running Bowtie because she popped the haste onto Aranea, so very unlikely. It's always possible. That sometimes can be a very useful strategy to run Bowtie, get a small amount of hate on your support in the backline in these kind of fights, just to draw aggro away from your carries. As I say that, Curry gets absolutely destroyed by Victoria, and Aranea's attack actually misses because she did so much damage. Fryevia has to pull out a 1v3, pops the Shadow Flare. 6,432 damage is a ton of damage on the Aranea here. So can she pull off the 1v2 now? Gets the haste onto Victoria. What kind of damage can she do? She, based on the damage last time, she probably has to one-shot here. She doesn't. Sweetheart Salir lives with 268 health. Walks up, Shadow Flare. Can she kill both of them in one hit? She can. Holy shit. I have never seen Shadow Flare do this much damage before. And for those of you guys that don't know, Shadow Flare is the ability that you get on the Black Rose Helena card, Black Rose Helena VC. So if you don't know where that skill comes from, get that VC. You can throw it into a sub slot. Very good sub VC for a lot of different elements. Gives you total party agility and gives you that ability to drop AoE resist, which is a very, very common thing these days. So really, really good match. In round one, MaechenX takes the victory, but this is a best of 3 set, if you guys don't know. So let's see how SurfTaco responds in match 2. SurfTaco did message me, which was really, really cool, and he basically let me know what his thought process was on this match. First match, he did expect MaechenX to go ice in some capacity, but basically, given how the first match went, he thought that his ice team probably would beat MaechenX's ice team if ran again. And I think he also thought that MaechenX thought the same thing, that MaechenX kind of almost lucked into it a little bit in the sense that that Quicken didn't go off correctly in the match 1. And also everybody stacked up for Sweetheart Salir's AoE damage. So if that doesn't happen perfectly, I think SurfTaco's ice team probably beats Maechen's in that situation. So MaechenX wants to go for a switch up, thinks, hey, if he's going to bring that double Icicle Spear team again, they don't have guaranteed hits. They don't necessarily have ways to hit evasion. So I think MaechenX is thinking, I can run my Valade, Zazan the Unkillable, and Ketone comp. And SurfTaco actually, with the double 9 game, basically, expecting MaechenX to make that switch based off of what happened in game 1. So SurfTaco calls this switch perfectly in match 2, expects MaechenX to go the Earth Evade, and then brings Astrius, who has a guaranteed hit, and I expected also Glaciella to be in this also, considering Glaciella has high slash resist for the evasion units and also has a guaranteed hit herself. So anyway, that's enough preamble for this match. Let's see how this match 2 plays out. So as we said before, MaechenX running this duo Earth Evasion with Valade, because Valade's 40 cost and can fit into this team comp, just kind of allowing them to buff up. So Zan's first turn, very good, getting the agility luck up for the party. This move right here is not fantastic. I don't think this is probably what MaechenX is planning. Ketone basically just walks up and hits for damage right away, and I have to assume he meant to do some sort of party buff and just didn't get it off. Very unfortunate, because she runs up and Astrius and Glaciella just have the accuracy or the guaranteed hits to hit her, and she was just deleted from the fight right away. So this is very unfortunate. So Valade channels a buff here, Frostweave Vivification. AP cost rate down. I actually do wonder, like, I could see that being somewhat useful if you get that 3-man party stack up with Ketone also. I am curious if it's more beneficial than his anti, Bar Eroga buff, or whatever it's called, where he buffs Ice, Wind Resist, Attack, Magic, and Agility. Either way, I think this fight's probably looking pretty grim for MaechenX at this point, just because Ketone got obliterated so fast, and they have the guaranteed hits to take care of Zazan, but you never know, and we'll see what happens. So Valade walks up, and now he should be channeling that buff, like I said earlier, that I think in most cases I would probably try and run turn 1. But man, Astrius is just no joke. He just smacks people. He does so much damage. This is definitely a very smart counter by SurfTaco to go against this evasion group. Very smart call by him, thinking that MaechenX would make the switch up. So Zazan grabs some hate, and I think he probably has enough evasion to dodge a lot of attacks, but unfortunately, like I said, the water has the guaranteed hits, so. Valade channeling something here. I'm not sure he's even going to get a chance to finish it. Tiger Maw does take him out, 10,700 damage. And Astrius heals up because he is a busted unit. So Zazan does get the dodge, but he's going to need a lot more than that to survive this. And as you can see, Glaciella, like I said, has very, very high slash resist. Not 100% sure if, MaechenX has that new Zazan the Unkillable card that gives him more slash pen or not. Either way, obviously SurfTaco prepped perfectly for this fight, so he brings it back to a 1-1 at this point in the series, and let's check out game 3 to see who wins. All right, guys, so match 3 here. We've got MaechenX versus SurfTaco again, the final match of week 1 here. And as you can see, it looks like a repeat from our first match. So Ice versus Ice, and we'll see how this one plays out. All right, so like we said, repeat of match number 1. We'll see if this ends up any differently or if MaechenX can take it just like match 1. As you can see, different positioning here from SurfTaco. We'll see if this works any better or not. Victoria still runs the Dragon's Pride TMR. RNA is still popping bells, so basically all the same TMRs as they were running the first time. The initial positioning is just the biggest difference here. Sweetheart Solir is still going Chi Barrier, so pretty much the same stuff running it back from round 1. Fryevia does walk up. This is actually very important because Victoria's 100% shield that she starts the fight with is now down. So any damage that Sweetheart Solir or somebody else could put on Victoria, she will take. She won't, you know, nullify that damage. So very nice that your tank is able to take that out. Enchanting Trap, though, from Victoria has the Charm Limit Break, and I think this can also hit Sweetheart Solir. It does, and it lands the Charm on Sweetheart Solir, and this is incredibly important because Aranea kills Fryevia, and now it is looking very grim for MaechenX. I don't know if he can come back from this because he has a Charmed Solir who is most certainly going to take out his friend here, Curry, right next to her friend Curry. Yep, turns on her ally, does 10,000 damage to Curry. That can't feel good. I can't see a situation where she comes out of this unless she just goes for Reflex City here with like hyper reactivity. It is technically possible if she reflexes a bunch of times in a row. Does not get it. This side is much more one-sided. Looks like that Victoria Limit Break was the absolute game breaker decider here. So SurfTaco, congratulations on your week 1 win. He will get 3 points, and I will elaborate a little more at the end of the video what those points mean. But he'll be receiving 3 points for this week, and MaechenX will get a point. So he did win a game. He does get a point. He doesn't end up with 0. Really cool first match. Thank you guys so much for participating, and let's check out our next one. All right, so matchup number 2, we have the Perfect Storm, who is coached by Unhindered, and the Golgari Swarm, who is coached by Dr. Dickhead. So these are the kind of 2 setups we've got here. 100 cost Jum, 100 cost Regalia Glaciella, 90 cost Winter Luartha, 80 for Ayaka, Rain, and Lucia, 60 Lorela, 50 Cyrell, and 20 with the Zazan, the N rarity unit. So this is really, really nice grab from it. Perfect Storm. I did say this in our draft here, but grabbing it's the only 20 cost unit in the game currently is really, really important if you do want to run dual 100 cost setups, or even if you just want to run, you know, Jumin with your Luartha or something like that. Could be very, very useful. For the Golgari Swarm, 100 cost Black Rose Helena. I think she's going to be really, really good in this type of atmosphere where, you know, only one person gets like a Celeste or something like that. And I think she could be very, very useful in a lot of these matchups. Also getting her master ability 2 this week, so it'll be interesting to see how she gets better. He does have that dual light evasion set up with Locke and Violet, has Titus and Halloween Rairu as 80 costs. Huge grab with Halloween Little Leela at only 70, Mariel 60, Mont 50, and Mish 30. So expected from this match, from the Golgari Swarm, I think he has 2 main comps that he could run. I think it's the Black Rose Helena, Halloween Little Leela, and Mont comp, or it is the dual evade with Mish comp. In terms of Perfect Storm, honestly, he's got so many damn good win units, he could pretty much run whatever the heck he wants. So it'll be really, really interesting to see what happens in this matchup. And let's check it out. All right, guys. So thank you so much for watching. Like I said, this is match number 2 between Dr. Dickhead and Unhindered. Hovering the Mont in slot 1 with a high magic stat tells me it probably is that Mont, Little Leela, Halloween, and Black Rose Helena comp. And on the other side, hovering Ayaka. Very interesting. I'm expecting with an 80 cost, probably seeing a Lucia in here, but I really don't know. I'm very curious to see what he runs here in round 1. And before we get into the match, I just want to say thank you for watching this, guys. If there's any way I can improve this video, please let me know down in the comments below. I'm very excited for this league, and I'm very excited for, you know, all of the battles, all of the niche units like showing up and this kind of stuff. And I think it's gonna be really cool for you guys to be able to witness these fights with these units who don't get a lot of play. But please let me know if there's any way I can improve my videos for this. Please let me know down below, and that would be very much appreciated. So let's get into this match. All right, so match number 1, like we said, so it is Ayaka, Lucia, Lorela. So very, very interesting. Could be using Ayaka more as a time mage than a healer, so it should be really, really interesting. Black Rose Helena walking up. I very much like her weapon skin. That looks really, really cool, actually.
I'm not sure I can be of much use.
So yeah, it looks like Ayaka probably channeling haste on one of the 2 units. Sharpshooting stance, a very good move. Good turn 1 by Unhindered to get that range up and that damage up. Also pops spells on the Rayla. So yeah, very, very efficient turn 1, I would say, for Unhindered. And then the Doctor looks like he may not have even changed his initial positioning on this match 1. Not sure if that was intentional or not. But either way, very interesting that Ayaka popped haste on herself. I'm curious if that was what he was doing on purpose. So if he's trying to just speed up Ayaka so she can speed up the other people more. I don't know. But very, very interesting play. Looks like she might be channeling again. Holy cow, 12,000 damage onto the Mont from the Lucia, and Lorela will take him out. So unfortunately, the tank down very early in this fight, and Unhindered has haste on 2 units. Looking good for Unhindered early. Yeah, looks like the haste already ran out for Ayaka, so that is kind of why I wondered if that was intentional, to run haste and use that on herself. If you ever want to run haste and only use it on other units, you can run the Time Mage sub that basically nullifies haste on yourself. So it can be a useful thing, but unfortunately gets reflexed as Black Rose Helena hits her. Not sure if that would have killed, but I'm sure it would have done very respectable damage. Black Rose Helena is an absolute beast, and Lorela is not the tankiest girl in the world. And Little Leela Halloween walks up, gets the heal onto Black Rose Helena. If she can walk up and get a big AoE, unfortunately gets reflexed again from Lorela and actually only went for the single target damage. I'm not sure if some of the Arithmetician skills are off, or if that was her only way of one-shotting Lorela. I'm not sure. Very interesting decision from Black Rose Helena there. So Lucia's going to get another turn. Sharpshoot does 6,200 damage. Guys, don't sleep on Lucia. She does very, very solid damage. And the meteor coming out from Ayaka, unfortunately, is missed because the target is already dead. And Little Lila's a beast, but I don't think she can pull off this 3v1 unless she's able to walk up and get like a full life onto one of her allies. Looking very grim. Fatal Succession, decent damage coming out from the Lorela at 4,400. And this is probably just going to be a slow bleed out here. So Ayaka walks up, starts channeling something again. Little Leela, you need to do something. You're just going to sit there and heal yourself. So I apologize for the end of this video, guys. It's probably going to be pretty painful to watch. But looks like Unhindered is going to take match 1. And Lucia, please walk up and do something. Mont's body disappears, so he can't even be re-raised at this point. And the basic attack will take care of Little Leela, but she does have re-raise, so it's going to keep going. So she's going to heal herself again with I2 Kira. Honestly, had Mont not getting taken out so early, I think had positioning been a little better from Dr. Dickhead, this matchup would have been a lot better. I'm curious to see, how that changes in match 2 and stuff like that. And the Mega Charge will take her out. I think that was 12,000 damage again. So yeah, Lucia dropping monster damage throughout this entire match. And we'll see how the Doctor can adjust for match 2. All right, guys. So looking at the units on the home screen, it looks like the exact same team comps are being ran back. I have to imagine that if the Doctor is running the same 3 units, he has to be switching up his initial positioning. So let's see how that changed in Fight 2. All right, as we said, Ayaka, Lucia, Lorela still the same Mont, Black Rose Helena, and Halloween Little Leela comp. But as you can see, he did change his initial positioning. So looks like he must have forgot the very first match to switch that up, unfortunately. But this looks like a much better setup, in my opinion, because you're going to have Mont close together with the other 2. They should be able to sustain him while also doing damage. Looks like pretty much the exact same setup from Unhindered as match 1, but it worked so well for him the first time that I'm not surprised he switched this. I think if you win match 1, I think a decent strategy can just be to run it back the same way and kind of force your opponent to respond or to adapt to you. So it gets the shield on herself and the haste on herself. I'm still not 100% convinced that hasting herself is the best option, but it seemed to work well in match 1. Gets the level 4 Darkra onto Lorela. How much damage is it going to do? 4,900. So it doesn't kill her, but good damage. The sharpshoot onto Mont, obviously 11,000 damage is a ton. Does proc the courage. Ayaka's going to heal. At least Mont can walk up. Can he taunting blade or something? He can. Actually gets the kill onto Lorela before the heal goes off. So that's actually massive. So that Kiraga's going to do nothing. I mean, it's going to heal Ayaka a little bit, but it's not going to do anything to Lorela, unfortunately. Black Rose Helena, can she get in position? Level 4 Darkra. Decent damage. Not crazy damage, to be honest. Decent damage onto the Lucia. Not a lot of damage to Ayaka, actually. The basic Zac just doing 4k to Mont is wild. Lucia's damage is nothing to sniff at here. But Little Lila's a beast. 6,900 damage onto the Lucia. You have to imagine that Black Rose Helena's going to pick up this kill here. And she does. Ayaka's all by herself. Unless she can pop a full life, which I think she's probably just going to opt to heal herself. Unless she can full life. Yep, she's going to limit break herself. She has to somehow live 2 hits and get a full life onto Lucia, I think, to win this. And I think even then it's probably not going to happen. Wow, the time was actually crazy. She actually limit breaked and then immediately got a cast off. But she does get taken out by the height-based Dark, unfortunately. So, Dr. Dickhead gets his revenge in match 2. Let's see if they switch up the comps at all in match 3. All right, so the final match between Dr. Dickhead and Unhindered. Looks like Dr. Dickhead's probably keeping the same comp as he just won match 2 with it, just by switching the positions. However, I do see a Winter Luartha. I see a high attack stat and almost no magic. This tells me that there's a good chance he could be running Winter Luartha, Joom, and the 20 cost Zazan. Very excited to see what Zazan can do. And let's get into this final match. All right, so as we said before, that's exactly what it is. Zazan, level 120. I believe that Unhindered told me that he 120'd Zazan like the day before these matches. So it's actually really cool. That he did that. He drafted Zazan at 99 and then 120'd him like during the week in order to have him for the match. So it gets the AoE buff from Winter Luartha. Pretty much exact same positioning from Dr. Dickhead as last time also. Like I said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Force your opponent to adapt. A Joom, a very, very strong tank. So Mont gonna walk up with Courage. What kind of damage can they get onto him? They don't have Lucia to snipe him, but they do have Winter Luartha. The Keenblade TMR is actually a really, really nice play. Having that 20 cost unit that can run Keenblade is huge. Getting slash stack up and CT up is just massive. Very, very good TMR. Not going to be surprised if we see a ton more of that in this league. So the biggest thing is that he does have Courage, so he takes the 2 hits, but he still lives. Hide 2 Cura does not do a ton. That does not heal for very much. Black Rose Helena, can she walk up and do damage? It's only level 4 Dark Rust, so not a ton. Unfortunately, can't land like a limit break or anything like that. Does get the Taunting Blade off, which is nice, but unfortunately doesn't have Courage anymore. He's probably going to die in the next hit. AP Break Lance will absolutely take him out. Does not have any re-raise, so he is dead. Black Rose Helena is going to have to do a ton of work here. Triple trick coming from the Joom, so very interesting. Had a slash resist penetration VC on this team. I guess not too surprising because you do have the Zazan, who you want slash pen on him also. He has a ton of movement. Killer Cross does 6,400 to Black Rose Helena, 5,300 to Little Lila Halloween. So the 20 cost unit coming in with some absolutely massive damage. You love to see it. So unfortunately, Little Lila is stuck in another 1v3. How much damage can she get off? Unfortunately, heals herself. Honestly, if she was able to hit all 3 of them, there's a chance she kills Zazan, and she probably does decent damage to Winter Luartha. Can they get in range to hit her, though? It's possible that they could clump up for her, and she could actually do a ton of damage to these 3. Yeah, they're going to stack up. She could have potentially hit all 3 of them with a skill here. Let's see what kind of damage she pulls off. Only hits the 2, but does kill Zazan. Unfortunately, Joom just barely survives. Binding Javelin does take out the Little Lila Halloween, but she does have re-raise. Wow, so this is actually massive, because if Joom would have died there, I don't think Joom had a re-raise too, because Winter Luartha did. So if Joom would have died there, Little Lila would have actually had the next attack. If she doesn't heal and just goes for the kill, I think she kills Winter Luartha. So if she had done 224 more damage to Joom, I think she pulls off that 1v3 and wins. Unfortunately, does not. Congratulations to Unhindered getting those 3 points. As we said before, since Dr. Dickhead did win a match, he still gets a point in the standings. Very, very cool round, guys. And let's check out the next match. All right, so for the week 1 matchup, we've got the Fire Ferrets coached by Turambar and Bebop's crew coached by Spike. And this matchup will be very, very interesting. To be completely honest, if I have to pick a 3-man team, from any one team in the entire league. I think the strongest one in the entire league is probably the Fire Ferrets, and it's probably the Joker, Garvel, Renell comp. It's actually really interesting too, because he took Joker and Renell in round 4 and 5, and then took Garvel and Renell in round 4 and 5, and then took Joker, I think, in round 6 or 7. So this is probably one of the best, if not the best, 3-man comp in the entire league. And he got like way later in the draft. So it's actually very impressive that he got those that late. It wasn't like because he was first overall pick that he just got in the first 3 rounds. He picked them very late. So very good 3-man comp. I expect him to probably run this in his matches this week. And Bebop's crew, it'll be interesting to see how he responds. Has some decent earth options, has some good 50 cost units that he can bring. Very curious to see how this plays out. And let's check this one out. All right, so for match 1 here, we've got Nasha showing and Joker showing. So with Nasha here, I wouldn't be surprised if he runs a Nasha McLeod Sottily. Also wouldn't be surprised if he just runs a couple of like 80 cost units or something like that with the Nasha. He could run a 90 and an 80, to be honest. He could run like Noctis Luel Nasha. I think that could be a very respectable comp. So I think it's probably either one of those, Noctis, Luel Nasha, or probably Nasha McLeod Sottily. And like I said before, I think that dark comp is just so ridiculously good. I think Turambar can honestly probably just run it until somebody stops it. So very, very curious to see how this match 1 plays. And let's go. So round 1, it is the Nasha McLeod Sottily comp. And if you guys see some messages on the screen, it's actually these two guys playing against each other and just messaging each other while they're playing. So I do apologize if that does show up at all, but gets the evasion buff on the Renell. Curious to see if she'll be able to evade anything. Re-raise and hate up. A nice buff to throw on your tank. I believe Nasha starts with innate hate, but I'm actually not 100% sure on that. I do have to check on that. The missile resist up could help some, actually. Joker and Garvel do technically both have some missile damage. So Joker going to walk up, pop the bells, and the very first turn buff where he has that like protect on his entire team, I think is very, very important. Part of the reason why Joker is so damn good. Nasha actually tanks this damage up very, very well for Renell, so a pretty good start for Spike here. And they're getting a lot of buffs off. I think the really scary one here for Nasha is the Garvel. I imagine that she probably tanks the physical damage pretty well, but can Garvel just obliterate her is the question. Joker walking up, popping the limit break on Nasha. I believe this just hits Nasha. I think it's a single target ability. I'm actually not sure if it's single target or AoE. Actually pretty good damage. 6,200 onto the Nasha is no joke. Renell cannot hit her from there, so she's just going to buff herself. Sottly's going to go next, though. Does he heal the Nasha? He does. Law of Invigoration. Having that Devout sub is just another reason why Sottly is just bananas good in this game. Gets the physical and magic shield up. So Nasha actually should still be fairly tanky. And gets the Garvel limit break. So Nasha getting both Joker and Garvel's limit break out. That's really, really important that they both went on the tank. And she's still sitting at like half health. So this is actually a fantastic start for Spike. McLeod walking up, taking out the Renell, has Joker to about half health. So pretty good start. He's pretty low on AP though. Unfortunately, they're stacking up next to each other. And he does drop a ton of damage onto the McLeod. So unfortunately, Sottly channeling a spell. Doesn't go for Law of Invigoration. Actually channels a heal, it looks like. And it is the Cura. I am very curious if he... I think this was probably a mistake by Spike, is leaving the Cura on. Had he turned that off and just ran Law of Invigoration, I think Nasha's sitting really, really healthy right now. Joker does have massive AoE range. So he does land the damage on both her and the Sottly. Sottly going to walk up, pop the limit break. Gets the charm onto Joker, but unfortunately Garvel goes first. Can he kill both? He does. He gets the detonation blast onto both. So in hindsight, because Garvel did so much damage there to the Nasha, I don't think turning off Kira and running the Law of Invigoration would have saved Spike here, because I imagine that Nasha still had hate. So I think the heal would have still went to Nasha, would not have kept McLeod alive either way, because he wouldn't have targeted McLeod. He would have targeted Nasha. Nasha took much damage from Garvel. So I think this fight turns out the exact same way either way. However, I think Spike probably learns from this and turns Kira off, just because Law of Invigoration is such a better spell. But GG, round 1 was actually really, really close. If McLeod didn't stack up with Nasha there, I think there's a very real chance Spike wins that. But GG, and let's see how match 2 plays out. So match number 2 here between Spike and Turambar. It looks like they're running the exact same team comps from match 1. I expect Turambar's team comp to pretty much do the exact same thing as match 1. And I think Spike's team probably will change either some skill on and off or change initial positioning just to see, you know, if that works any better for him. So at first glance, it looks like position is the same for Spike. Turambar's looks... I believe this is actually flipped. I think Renell and Garvel are actually flipped from round 1. So interesting, but still does the same kind of buff rotation. Still goes with the Immortal Dogma on Nasha. So still trying to stack as much hate as possible on her. It is very, very important that she takes the damage. These other two are not very tanky. So exact same buff rotation as the first turn. I wonder if the only adjustment that he made is just turning on Law of Invigoration rather than Cura. Again, I don't think that would have changed the outcome in round 1, but it is possible. I didn't sit there and do all the math on it, but I don't think it changes the outcome. So I'm curious to see if any other abilities are different. Yep, so same buff rotation as round 1 up to this point. So this is slightly different though, because of the positioning from Turambar being different. Garvel actually runs forward first, pops a concentrated Chi Lancer onto Nasha. That's actually a ton of damage, 8600 crit. Oh, unfortunately gets reflex. This actually could have been huge, because that could be a lot of damage onto the Garvel, who was probably the main damage carry in the last fight. Can Joker take out Nasha already? He can. So that is very, very unfortunate. She does have the re-raise though because of the Sodali, so that's huge. If Sodali can heal her up, McLeod may be able to do some decent damage. We'll see what happens. Actually, unfortunately, Nasha's actually going to go before Sodali, so I'm not sure that Sodali will even be able to get into range. Pops the Blade Bash, does not get the stun on Garvel. Not sure if Garvel has stun resist or not. I don't believe he does, but he very well could. And unfortunately, Nasha going first there might be a death sentence for Spike. Had Sodali gone first, he would have been able to run up, heal her before she walks forward. And man, 2 reflexes in a row. This Garvel honestly should be dead from those 2 spear attacks, and he is still alive and kicking. Unfortunately, reflex can just really screw you over. Maiming Slash comes in. Sodali, you need to limit break somebody. Indoctrination comes out, one-shots a Garvel, so has a chance. Can McLeod do anything? Unfortunately, out of AP after his 2 really good skills got reflexed. Renell comes in. Can she kill McLeod? She can. Can Joker take out Sodali right here before he gets the limit break is the question. He can, and I think that's the difference. Honestly, guys, that match was actually a lot closer than match 1. I think 2 things. If Sodali was faster than Nasha that turn, gets the heal off, I think the Spike has a chance at winning. I also think if those 2 reflexes don't go off, Spike also has a chance at winning. But GG, either way, it's part of the game. Turambar wins 2-0. Unfortunately, Spike will not get any points this week. But like I said, it's a 9-week regular season, so you have plenty more opportunities to gain points for your standings. And GG to Turambar. Congratulations on the win. Let's check out our fourth out of our 5 matches. All right, guys, so we've got Slim Chance Brigade coached by Sandrooster and the Strawhats coached by JesusLBL. 2 Friday Night Fights players going up against each other, so this one should be interesting. Biggest thing I can say here is that I said during my draft analysis video, I think the Strawhats team gets a lot stronger once Final Fantasy Tactics comes along, because he does have 2 Final Fantasy Tactics units in Gafgarian and Ramza, so unfortunately they're only level 99 right now, so you can use them, but realistically, you're almost kind of at a handicap right now because you basically have 7 120 units where Sandrooster has all 9. So realistically, looking at this team, I expect Starlight Elena, Fina, and Vistral to come out. And we'll see how the actual matchups play out. But to me, this seems like a pretty easy decision for Sandrooster because he has Terra with guaranteed hits. He has Summer Ketone with guaranteed hits. And Ishtola can be fairly accurate. She doesn't have guaranteed hits, but two very strong damaging mages with guaranteed hits could potentially each one-shot these evasion units. So that is kind of the matchup I expect to see. That being said, Oberon also has guaranteed hits. Esther has very high accuracy. So I think this matchup is favored for Sandrooster, but that doesn't mean Jesus can't win. So very curious to see how it plays out. And let's get into match 1. All right, guys. So like I said, Jesus versus Sandrooster. Looking at the units here, look at this massive 4,600 magic stat for Sandrooster. Have to imagine it's that triple fire mage comp. And for Jesus, mixed attack and magic damage, but higher magic, showing Vistral. I assume it is that light evasion class. So if Jesus can pull off this win, I'm honestly really impressed. And I think it's a lot of really good positioning and different things like that if he can get a W. I do think this is very much Sandrooster favored, but very curious to see how Jesus plays it. Let's get into it. All right, so getting into match 1 here. It is that triple fire mage comp versus the light evasion comp. Let's see what they can do. So Elena popping her courage buff right away. A smart call, especially if she doesn't get one shot. That can be really, really useful. It's just another, round of living, another turn of living. Elena can be very, very pesky to kill just because she has so much evasion and also has that courage. Does pop the aimed fire buff on Fina. Unfortunately, that doesn't really do anything for Elena. It does help Fina's range, but it doesn't really do anything for Starlight Elena. The magic shield for Summer Ketone, a very smart move. Good evasion by Starlight Elena to start off the bat. Dodges the Stola attack, comes in with a limit break AoE. One-shots the Stola, and I believe breaks Summer Ketone's shield, because I believe that is a 3-hit shield. So that is now gone. So a very good start for Jesus. Stola is probably the weakest member of Sandrooster's team, but still, to make it a 3v2 right off the bat is huge. Unfortunately, Vistral kind of out in the middle of nowhere and doesn't have another buff to pop. Let's see if he can actually get into the fight, and if he's not just, like I said, in the middle of nowhere. I assume Jesus didn't want to stack everybody up because of that Meltdown Plus skill, being able to AoE everybody. Same with Bursting Light. A lot of damage coming out. Procs the courage from Elena. Earthrending Pain one-shots the Summer Ketone, though, so it is a 3v1. The biggest question for me, though, is can Terra kill Starlight Elena? Because if she kills Elena, I think she still has a good chance at winning this. So Fina's going to channel something. Walks up. Actually goes for the Fina and one-shots her. So Elena is still alive. What kind of damage can she do to Terra, who I believe also has courage up? Crystal Shrine Bright pops over half the damage. Can Vistral get in here to do anything? And he can't. That is rough. That is really rough. Unfortunately, the Meltdown Plus hits both of them, and Sandrooster does take the W with Terra. Honestly, had Vistral gotten in there and maybe been able to like charm her or just do any sort of damage or just not stacked up with her, I think it's possible that Terra would have just went for the Vistral and killed him, and Starlight Elena might have been able to win that. But unfortunately, Vistral was pretty much useless in that first fight. He didn't get any sort of damage done and just stacked up with Elena for the double kill. But let's see if Jesus can change some sort of positioning or change up his team comp to see if round 2 can perform, any better. It actually looked pretty favored for him for a while. So if he can get any sort of use out of his straw, it might be a closer fight. And we'll see how it goes. All right, so coming into match 2 here, it looks like the exact same team comps going up against each other. We did flip the sides of the match, or sides of the map. So now Sandrooster is on the left side and Jesus is on the right. We did not specify that in the rules, whether you need to flip left or right. Almost every map in this game is completely symmetrical, so it typically does not matter. And you can do initial positioning however you want. So, but interesting that they kept the same team comps. We'll see if the positioning has changed or ability on and off has changed. See if Jesus can take this to a match 3. All right, so here we go. Fire versus Light Evade again. Stacks up all 3 fire units next to each other. This positioning, I believe, looks a little different. I feel like Vistral is a little closer to the Light Evasion units this time. I could be wrong on that, but it looks like he's a little closer. All right, so Summer Ketone's channeling. I believe that's her magic shield. Bell's still popped on Vistral, so he has plenty of AP. It's just whether he can do anything with it. So Fina's going to walk forward. Is she going to still pop the aim fire buff? She is. I do wonder, in hindsight, for JesusLBL, if he could have popped like an AoE resist buff or something like that, that could be huge, because the big guaranteed hits for the fire team here are AoE hits. You know, Bursting Light is an AoE attack, and Meltdown Plus is an AoE attack. If you could do just raise up like AoE resist or magic resist enough that Elena survives one hit, then she also has her courage. That could be the difference in the fight. So we'll see how this plays out, but I wonder if that would have been better than running Aim Fire, because Aim Fire really doesn't do anything for Elena on this map. Gets the Needle Toss, gets some damage onto Y'shtola, so he's already done more than he did last fight, so that's a good sign. Fina's going to pop Warming Up, so gets the Titus buff, critical hit and critical damage up. Can she get damage off, though? She, again, didn't do any damage last fight. It was basically just Starlight Elena 1v3ing last fight. Pops the Fleet of Foot, so this is very interesting. Move up, jump up. So she has a ton of mobility here, which is really cool. Can she get over and drop an AoE limit break on the team? Mistral actually takes out Y'shtola, so again, definitely more useful than he was for fight one. Going to get taken out here, though, by the Terra. And I do wonder against these teams who can one-shot you and stuff like that, bringing maybe a Zombie Rairyuu TMR also might be helpful, just because it allows you to live just that one more hit. But very interesting. Probably going Bursting Light. No, it's actually Nimble Movement. So Starlight Elena might have a chance to get the flank here. Unfortunately, they're not close enough for her to limit break both. Earthrending Pain, decent damage on Terra. Does not get the crit. Not sure if it really would have mattered. Meltdown Plus brings her to Courage. Can Fina proc Terra's Courage is the question. What she's going to do, she's going to charge something. I assume this is a heal. She's just going to get taken out by the Summer Ketone Hazard Slash. And this is looking grim again for Jesus, but we'll see how it plays out. Actually gets the screen locked because he wasn't touching it while he was playing. Lux Overflow does proc the Courage from Terra, but unfortunately with all these guaranteed hits, it's looking very grim for Jesus. But GG, congratulations to Sandrooster. Honestly, in my opinion, a very tough matchup for Jesus week one. Just being able to run into those types of units who can do your entire health bar in a guaranteed hit is very, very tough for evasion. So that's almost just a hard counter for him week one. I do wonder, I think the only things that he could have done to maybe give himself another chance is maybe use like Zombie Rairyuu TMR instead of one of the other TMRs, and also have Fina buff like AoE resist or magic resist rather than using aim fire, because unfortunately that accuracy and that range really doesn't do much for you here. Fina actually never attacked during either one of these two matches, so I do wonder if that could have been enough bulk or enough, you know, extra hits to turn the tide in his favor. But GG, great match. Congratulations to Sandrooster on the win. And let's check out the final match featuring me and JEBAW. All right, guys, so this little preview might be a little different than the other matches because I get to give my own thought process on what I did for my team and how the matches went and what my thought process was, and it should be really interesting. So biggest thing was I tried to look at the Sappers, JEBAW's team, and decide what would I run if I were him, or what, you know, could potentially be problems for my team. And I think the first thing that I thought was, you know, it seems pretty obvious that I would run Lightning just right off the bat. So if I were to run Lightning, what would JEBAW run? And in my opinion, you know, the biggest like no-brainer would be Summer Lilith, just for the simple fact that she is the only Earth unit on that team. Not that Lightning can't beat Earth, but it is an elemental counter. She does have guaranteed hits also, so if I decided that I wanted to run Evasion, Runestorm, Venera or something, she has that guaranteed hit barrage, like AoE damage, so that could be a problem. So just right off the bat, Summer Lilith seemed like a unit that was probably a smart move for him to use against me. So if he was going to use Summer Lilith, I was like, what else could he run it with? And in my mind, the team that I prepared for, I'm not saying this is what he actually ran, but what I prepared for match one was Summer Lilith, Summer Jaden, and Little Leela. I thought his thought process would probably be, you know, I can stack up just like missile attack up cards and just rain down damage from far away, while Little Leela could run something like a re-raise to help keep her alive a little longer and hopefully run in and get like a taunting spell off or something along those lines to grab hate. In my mind, when I was actually looking at this comp, there were 3 units that scared me and the rest didn't scare me, basically. So Ibarra was the #1 scariest unit when I looked at this, just because Ibarra just does ridiculous damage. Summer Jaden scares me and Summer Lilith scares me. So my whole thought process was, I don't think Summer Lilith is going to do enough damage by herself to counter my Lightning team. So the 2 scary units that do a ton of damage, or even 3, are all magic damage units. So what I'm going to do is my team comp, I'm going to run Cloud and Charlotte, but instead of running Liarte, I'm going to run Naya. Essentially, Naya brings Reflect. So I figured Summer Jaden and Ibarra both have reflectable skills. So I kind of nullify at least one hit from them and turn the damage into their team instead. And if he brings Summer Lilith, I'm just going to trust that my team can live long enough to kind of take everyone out. So let's see what actually happened in match 1. All right, guys. So match 1, I am running that team, like I said, Cloud, Charlotte, and Naya. Right off the bat, I do see a Yuna. So having Yuna as an 80 cost unit out of a 225 total cost tells me that it's very likely he's running another 80 and a 60. So it's probably likely he is running that Summer Lilith, especially with the attack value, which makes me think he's probably running Yuna, Summer Lilith, and a tank. So he could run either Ravi's or Dario. Given the stat values, this looks like it's probably a Ravi spring. So looking at Yuna, Summer Lilith, and Ravi's, I actually really like my chances with this matchup, and we'll see how match 1 turns out. So getting into match 1, you can see my Naya's only level 112. I actually did just EX her and level her up this week after getting her in the draft. I believe she's level 116 now as I'm making this video. I'm very low on experience cubes, but I'm trying to pump her up as fast as I can. But anyway, my thought process, I'm going to spread out Charlotte from my Naya and Cloud here. Basically, my concept was I wanted Naya to use Reflect on Cloud because I didn't want him to get one shot by either a Summer Jaden or Ibarra. I felt like Charlotte could live enough hits on her own that Cloud was the one who needed that extra Reflect, not Charlotte. So I put those two on kind of their own side of the map and then put Charlotte differently. Got the Reflect and Haste on the Cloud, so now Cloud is just kind of super powered here with Charlotte running as a tank on the side. So Cloud's going to walk up, pop Ascension on Ravi's because she does have that shield on her already. So Ascension is a barrier break. Ravi's actually tanks this damage really well. Ravi's is so good. I honestly love that unit. Had I taken different units in the first rounds of the draft, I probably would have taken Ravi's myself. But fantastic pick by JEBAW. Ravi's is really, really good. So Summer Lilith's going to drop back, pop the limit break on Charlotte. And so my hope here is that this does half or less. And I get that. 4,099 damage. I will take that all day from the Earth unit. And now that I know, like, if Summer Lilith is doing 4,000 with her limit break to Charlotte, I have almost no chance to lose this fight because the only other person who could really do a ton of damage here is Yuna. And I have Reflect on Cloud. So if she hits Cloud, she's going to get nuked. And I'm in the perfect position here because Naya has very, very long range with her heals. So she is just off on the side. She's just going to channel Kiriga. And her AI, after testing her, is fantastic. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but Charlotte was at like 60 or 65% health. And Naya still tried to heal her. That's really, really nice. A lot of supports don't heal when they're that high of health. So that's very awesome to see. Ravi's, unfortunately, for JEBAW does not have hate anymore. So Cloud flanks, kills the Yuna. And now this fight is pretty much looking guaranteed for me. Charlotte still has decent hate. The drain charge is good damage by Summer Lilith, but it's not going to be enough as Naya's just going to keep sustaining from the side, and Cloud should be able to slowly take out these other two units. So gets that Kiriga Malevolent on. Cloud auto attacks for 3k. We'll see if Charlotte can take out Summer Lilith. Lightning Strike comes through. Does proc that Courage. And Ravi's is going to Blade Bash Charlotte, but it's just not going to do enough damage. I did make a mistake here. I think I should have kept one of Naya's offensive abilities up because she actually just walked forward and hit Ravi's with her stick, which I thought was hilarious. But it only did like 150 damage. So yeah, in hindsight, I think I should keep one offensive ability up just so that she doesn't have to move forward because I don't want her ever moving into the fight and getting close to units. That could be a real problem for me. Like, for example, here, she took all that damage because she walked so close. I don't want her doing that. So Charlotte's going to summon Odin for the really cool cutscene and the KO. We'll take out the Ravi's. And that is a match 1 win for me. So we'll see what happens in match 2. All right, guys. So match 2 here. I am bringing the exact same team against JEBAW. Didn't know what he would bring. I assumed he would change up his strategy, either into Ibarra or Summer Jaden, because like I said, I think those were really the only other two units that were threats for me. So I assumed he would change his comp up because I didn't really feel like fight 1 was very close. I kind of, just had the thought process of, I don't really want to switch my team comp for match 2. I want to force my opponent to adapt to me to see if he can come up with a strategy to beat what I already have. And then if he can do that, then I will have to adapt to what he did. So I'm running the exact same comp as last time. I can see that he is running Ibarra. And what I could tell from his comp is basically he can do one of two things. He can either run Ibarra, Summer Lilith, and the SR unit Little Leela, or he can run Ibarra and Ravis and Dario together. So he can run dual MR tank with Ibarra. It was one of those two setups, and we'll see what it is. So looking at the matchup here, he has Dario and Ravis. So the biggest thing here is Dario and Ravis don't bring a ton of damage, but they both come to the fight with 5 initial hate. And the problem here is it kind of just works like 10 hate, unless I'm actually AoEing them like at the same time. Because 2 different units have hate, that's just hate that's not on Ibarra. So that means I have to basically get through both of these tanks before I can actually hit Ibarra. So my initial opening strategy is the exact same. Like I said, pop the Reflect on Cloud. And I'm just kind of hoping that JEBAW didn't think about the Reflect. And I'm hoping that he pops some sort of Wailing Storm or something like that and gets it reflected back onto his Ibarra. So at this point, I'm feeling fairly confident, hoping that he does that. Gets 7,200 damage early onto the Dario. Charlotte pops the Glorious Armor. And now this is the problem that I run into. I have Charlotte and Cloud stacked up here. Unfortunately, she walked right up to it. And this ability here is gigantic. So JEBAW does the very smart thing, turns off all reflectable abilities, and runs Slate Wiper. Slate Wiper is so good here because Charlotte, at this point in the game, does not have her Master Ability 2, which means she doesn't have an innate hate. So if you use Slate Wiper, it gets rid of her hate. So she doesn't have any. So if they want, they can just target Cloud, they can target Naya. They don't have to hit Charlotte. It also removes haste. So not only does my hate go away from Charlotte, but Cloud's haste went away. So that one skill is a gigantic thing. Turned the fight very drastically. Now she can go just one-shot the Naya. They don't have to hit my tank. Cloud gets taken out. And so as you can see, this fight goes south very quickly just because of that one ability. And that's one of the biggest things. One of the reasons why I actually drafted Nivlu is I wanted some sort of Dispel on my team. Because if you guys don't know, Dispel is just incredibly important at stripping buff, stripping hate, and different things like that. So this Slate Wiper is a monumental skill here. And the chances that Charlotte's going to 1v2 in this situation are 0. So this is going to be, looks like a match 2 win for JEBAW. Slate Wipers again, gets rid of the Charlotte. Fantastic adaptation by JEBAW here in match 2. Very, very impressed to see that he thought to bring the Ibarra. Not only that, to run Slate Wiper to remove hate and haste, and then also just to remove reflectable abilities off of the Ibarra so that she doesn't get hit back in the face from Naya's Reflect. So very good adaptation by him, and we'll see what happens in match 3. All right, guys. So for match 3 here, in complete honesty, I expected him to slightly change his team again. I wasn't sure what, but I kind of just had a feeling he was going to run something different. I didn't really know what. But my original thought, and I probably should have still tried to do it. My original thought was I should just run Evasion. My thought process was it's very likely if he is running a Rainbow comp that he doesn't necessarily have the best vision cards in the world for accuracy and luck and just hitting those evasive units. I unfortunately realized that I didn't have the full Trust Stone set up to run 2 evasion units. I had enough Trust Stones to run 1 evasion unit, so I could have ran like Venera as an evasion unit and then ran other things, but I didn't really like that concept. So now I actually do have 2 full evasion sets built in my Trust Stones. They're not perfectly maxed out in every single situation, but they're good enough. But I didn't have them at the time. So had I had them, I probably would have tried to run dual evade here, thinking that JEBAW probably doesn't have the accuracy to beat me, but I decided against that. And my change here was I dropped the Naya because I felt like, given last game, she didn't really provide very much. The Reflect doesn't provide anything because I know JEBAW is smart enough to realize not to bring reflectable abilities. And so I put in Liarte instead of Naya, and the other biggest change that I made was that I ran Vow of Love on Charlotte to give her initial hate so that she would have some sort of hate even if I got Slate Wipered. And that was just kind of my strategy going into it. Like I said, 2020 hindsight, I probably should have just taken more time, told JEBAW to wait a couple days before we do match 3 and just finish my evasion runes. I don't know if it would have worked, but that would have been a strategy I would have ran. But I did not do that, and we'll see how it goes in this match 3. All right, so the other thing I did was I switched my positioning because I thought Ibarra was going to line up on the left side. To this point, JEBAW had not changed really his formation, but he actually did swap the positions in his party this time. I did not notice this, and I should have known this, or like should have paid attention and done this differently. I was trying to get Cloud far away from Ibarra because I didn't want him to get slate wipered. Unfortunately, by setting this up, he's actually on the same side as Ibarra, so this could be good or bad. If he can walk up and just nuke her, that's great, but more likely he has so much movement, he's probably going to walk up and hit the Ravies. So both of the tank abilities online for both Ravies and Dario. Uses the Black Rose TMR buff on Ibarra, another favorite TMR that, for me personally, that I run on Ibarra. And honestly, Dario tanks that damage really, really well. 3670 is nothing, is not a ton of damage, so Dario tanking Blade Burst like that is very impressive. Blade Bash comes through, unfortunately does land the stun on Charlotte. This can be kind of huge because Charlotte has that lightning resist drop. She also has her limit break, which is a big AoE damage. And not only does Ibarra have Dispel, but Dario actually has buff removal too, which I didn't think about. So a couple of really nice buff removals from JEBAW's team. Malevolent Lightning comes out, and this should do a ton of damage. Ibarra's just got too much penetration. Like I said, over 6k damage. Charlotte does live it, but unfortunately that stun is just so huge right now. She is not able to pop the limit break to get AoE damage, you know, attack and magic down. Liarte does walk up, tries the stop arrow, does not get the stop on Ravies, unfortunately. So the status effects slightly going in his favor, not going in my favor. Gets the Slate Wiper off because Cloud runs out of AP, gets in the middle of it. And Blade Bash unfortunately connects another stun. I don't think this probably would have mattered, but getting stunned twice in a row kind of sucked, I'm not going to lie to you guys. He would have been able to back up and do something, but he would have only been able to hit one of the 2 units. So I don't think it mattered. Maybe if I get both of those stuns like not happening, maybe it kind of matters. Honestly, I would have had to hit the stop and not get stunned both times, I think, to win that. So GG to JEBAW. Honestly, fantastic job. After winning that first match really, really hard, I was very impressed by his adaptation, and I very much struggled with dealing with the amount of dispel that he had and the dual tank setup. So really, really cool first match. I feel like I learned actually from these fights, so that was really, really neat. But before I let you guys go, let's look at some of the stat leaders for week 1, and let's look at the standings. All right, guys, so looking at some of the stat leaders, I don't know if I told you guys this, but I am keeping track of kill leaders, assist leaders, KDA leaders, and just the overall standings and stuff like that. So I want to go over this at the end of every single week just to kind of show what units are popping off and stuff like that. So looking at the kill leaders, Sandrooster, Slim Chance Brigade, Terra, the only unit in the entire league with 5 kills, 2.5 kills per match, so she was used twice, got 5 kills total. Garvel and Ibarra both with 4 kills. Aranea, Lucia, Sweetheart, Salir, Cloud, Ravies, all with 3 kills, and Astrius and Starlight Elena with 2. There was actually a handful of other units that also had 2 kills, but I'm only showing the top 10 for now. And I basically just organize it by total kills, and then the tiebreaker on making this scoreboard is the kills per match stat. Next stat that I wanted to show you was the assist leaders and the Fire Ferrets. Full disclosure on how you get an assist. It's basically if you do any damage to a unit that eventually dies, if you buff a unit that eventually kills or does damage to a unit, or if you have hate and you take a hit from somebody who eventually dies. So this Renelle's assist stat is kind of inflated because she popped an evasion buff on the whole team like twice. But either way, Joker and Renelle both with 5 assists. Dario and my girl Naya with 4 assists. Ayaka, Shell, Keto and Summer, Victoria and Ravi's all with 3. And Joom and a bunch of other units with 2. The KDA leaders for the week, if it has this little asterisk, technically they have a perfect KDA, so this is technically not 6 because these units did not die. But yeah, 6 KDAs for 5 units. 5 kills, 0 death, 1 assist for Terra. 402 for Ibarra, 105 for Joker, 3-1 and 3 Ravi's, very nice. 1-1 and 5 for Renelle, 2-1 and 3 for Victoria. Garvel, Lucia, and Summer Catone, all with 4 KDA, and Astrius at number 10 with a perfect 3 KDA. So 201 has not died yet. Ultimately, the most important thing from the league and the last slide I want to show you guys is the final standings. So we've got a obviously 5-way tie for first. Somebody has to win, and this is week number 1. So we've got Turambar and the Fire Ferrets, Sandrooster and Slim Chance Brigade, JEBAW and the Sappers, Unhindered with the Perfect Storm, and SurfTaco with the Sheerans, all tied for first with 1 series win. We have me with Soldier First Class, Dr. Dickhead with the Golgari Swarm, and MaechenX Wondrous Shoopufs with 1 mitigated loss. That is what the ML stands for. It essentially just means that you earned 1 point because you won a game out of your set, but you did not win the entire set. So if you guys don't know, if you win your entire set, whether it's 2-1 or 2-0, you get 3 points. If you lose the set 0-2, you get 0 points. And if you win a game but don't win your set, then you get 1 point. So Spike and JesusLBL bringing up the rear with 0 points, unfortunately. But like I said, the regular season is 9 weeks long, so there's tons of time for these teams to come back. And yeah, it's been super, super cool. It was an insanely fun week. The draft was so much fun. Loved seeing some of these matches. Ultimately, just want to ask you guys for feedback. If there's different ways that I can portray this information or show it and stuff like that, please let me know. This was a blast to do, but I want to make this as enjoyable for you guys, the viewers, as it is enjoyable for us, the players. So like I said, please let me know any sort of feedback down below in the comments. I am not done making ultimate guides. Please don't think I'm done doing that. I've just been so kind of tied up with this and also doing things like I've been basically finishing our basement. So I've been just having a lot of real life things get in the way too. I'm not done making ultimate guides. I definitely want to keep doing those and stuff like that. I've just been really, really busy over the last few weeks. So I do apologize if you watch my videos for the guides, but I'm hoping you guys get some sort of enjoyment or some sort of educational value from these videos as well, because I really, really enjoy making them. Like I said, if you have ways to improve them, please let me know down in the comments. Yeah. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day.